now we are to change the same accounting view of the US00 company code. Then this transaction will be known as the change of material. So creating the material, extending the material, and changing the material. We should understand the difference between these three. Creating the material means creating the material for the very first time. Extending the material means creating another view of the same material which is already created, right? And the T code of extending the material is same, right? Which is that of the creating the material. And the third one is actually changing the material. It means the view of the original view is already maintained. We are not going to actually create a new view of that particular material, but we are just going to change that particular material. For this, we usually use the T code MM02, which is the changing of the material. And then coming on to the next master level, after the material is the bill of material, the second master level. Third is the routing, fourth is the work center, and fifth is the product group. So coming on to the bill of material master data, I will cover it in the next slide. So keep watching the next slide. Thank you. So this is about the bill of material master data, which is the second master data item, an important master data item within the production planning part of SAP ERP. It is basically nothing else but the list of all the raw materials which makes up the finished product. So from this definition, it implies that the bill of material master data is actually has to be there for every material which has to be produced within a given environment. So if in the example that we have been using, the data set is that of the global bike company, or even in the IDS data set company, which is automobile manufacturing. In that particular case, the bike, for example, is the finished goods, and since bike is a finished goods, it's produced within the company, within the plants, and we must have a bill of material of the bike, which actually tells us what are the key materials, raw materials, which are required in order to manufacture the bike. So here we can see the list of components that make up a product or assembly. We need a wheel assembly, we need a frame, we need gear assembly, and there are some other materials including the chain and the bracket and the packaging material also the warranty document, which is a sort of manual, even the help manual, or some sort of document which is a physical document which has to be printed first and then kept into stock in order to complete the finished goods. So everything which is part and parcel of the finished goods is part and parcel of the bill of materials. So even though the warranty document is not a direct part of the bike, but it has to be there in the package in which we actually deliver the bike. So it is also part of the bill of material. Similarly, packaging material in which the bike is packed, for example, is a part of the bill of material. Now the important concepts in bill of material is that in the wheel assembly, for example, which is the two wheels which we required in the bike, have itself their own bill of material. So you can see, for example, from here that this is actually this is wheel assembly is a raw material, right? Is a raw material from the perspective of the bike itself, but when we refer to the wheel assembly itself, then wheel assembly is also a finished goods for which we have some other raw materials, some other constituents, which are tire and tube and wheel and nuts and some washers and some bolts. So this means that wheel assembly itself is a semi-finished goods, it's a semi-manufactured good, because we need first to manufacture the wheel assembly, and then from the wheel assembly we manufacture, together with the other components, we manufacture the bikes. So in this particular case, for example, this is an example of another pictorial presentation of the bike, bill of material of the bike, and this is known as a single level bill of material. Why we say it a single level bill of material? Because we have just the finished goods, and below the finished goods we have just one level of raw materials, right? So for example, you cannot see tire or tube in this bill of material because this is single level. It means below the finished goods we have just one single level. But if we want to see a multi-level bill of material, for example, then in the multi-level bill of material we can easily see that there is a bill of material inside a single component of the bill of material. So there are two levels. The first level is that we have the finished bike, in which these are the basic components required, and one of the component has another bill of material for which all the constituents are shown here. So you can see that if we take all these together, then this is actually, we can say that this is a multi-level bill of material. this one, right? So I do not have a very good software to record this video, right? So I cannot mark it on the screen. And this is the multi-level bill of material. But if we just refer to this one, then this is a single level bill of material. Similarly, if we refer to this one, that's just right, then this is a single level bill of material. So in SAP ERP, we have the options to view the bill of material either single level or at the multi-level. So sometimes there can be more than 2 levels, and you should keep this in mind. Then there is a concept of variant bill of material. It means several products with a large proportion of identical parts can have a bill of material, right, which is somehow similar. And since it is similar, so we can make up a bill of material which is a variant bill of material, which is a generic bill of material, in which most of the parts are similar, and the two parts, for example, we have this professional bike and this deluxe bike. The only difference between these two, the bill of material between these two, is of the two items, right? The color, first of all, the color of the frame, and the other one is the type of the wheel. So we have a carbon wheel here and wheel of aluminum wheel here. All the rest of the parts are same. So in order to make easy the creation of bill of material in SAP ERP, what we can do is that we can create a variant bill of material first, which is a generic bill of material, and then that can work as a template to create others bill of material like deluxe bike red and professional bike black, and maybe we can have another few modules of the bike, and we can change the components which are changeable, which are also sometimes known as the class items. So another important concept in the bill of material is the various items which can be actually make part of the bill of material. So we usually understand that bill of material should have raw materials. It means any of the thing which is part of the bill of material should itself be a material itself. For example, if we say that this is the professional bike black, then we also say that pedal assembly is a part of professional bike. It means pedal assembly must have its own material master data. Chain must have its own material master data. Brake kit must have its own material master data in order to be assigned to the finished good. But there are some specifications, there are some exceptions which need to be discussed over here. So we say that the item categories within the bill of material can be stock items. So this is simply a material. Stock item means it is an inventoryable item. It means that we maintain inventory of that item. And it eventually means when we come on to the process, that when the system will plan the production planning schedule, the system will also take into consideration the stocking and the inventory requirement of that item. But there can be some items for which no inventory is maintained, which are only procured for direct use, not for inventory. There can be some expensive items, for example, the meter of the bike, although this is not a good example in the context because meter is not there, it is included in the kit, maybe the main frame. But think of any item which is too expensive, or which is too unusual to be carried into the stock. So we don't carry that item in the stock, but since we need it as a part of the manufactured goods, since it is part of the bill of material, it's a constituent in the bill of material. So what we can do is that whenever we need to manufacture the goods, we can directly procure that item and directly issue to the manufacturing. There is no in between stock level. So these items can also make part of the bill of material. The only difference is that since we don't have any inventory item over here, so when the system will plan production planning, so the system will not actually consider any inventory requirements for that particular material. Then we have another category which is variable material, right? So the third possible item is the variable material, which is usually known as variable sized item, and this has a specific use because there are some materials, for example the sheet of steel, for which there can be different dimensions, different sizes which it can be used in. For example, a sheet of 12 meters by 12 meters can be used into pieces of 6 meters by 6 meters. 2 pieces, for example, I'm not exactly sure of the calculations, but it's just an example. Or it can be used in 4 different pieces of different sizes. So there are 2 options now. Either we actually create different master data for each one of the standard size that we are going to use, or we use the single master data. I am talking about the material master data. So if we take a sheet of steel as a single master data, a single material master data we maintain for it, and we actually use it in different sizes, then actually it become a variable size material, a variable sized item. And there is some specifications which have to be maintained in the material master data of variable sized material, because if we have the material size of 3 dimensions or 2 dimensions, say it's an area, it's a very thin steel sheet, then the possible dimensions are the length and the width, and the complications are created when we cut the sheet in such a way that the remaining part, the volume of the remaining part, although is the same in numbers, is actually not usable. So for example, if there is a sheet of 10 by 10, the total volume is say 10 into 10 is the total area is 100, and we take out say a sheet of 6 by 6, the total area of the sheet that we have taken out is 36. So we cannot say that since we have taken out the 36 square feet or 36 square meter, the remaining is 64 square meter, which although can be true in the restricted sense, but that 64 square meter cannot be used even for a single 36 square meter as a single 36 square meter sheet, because the dimensions of the remaining one are actually less than either of the 10 which are required either side on the 6. So a 10 by 10 sheet, right, for example this one, when we take out a 6 by 6 piece, this one, then the leftover is actually something like this, and then something like this on the one side and something like this on the other side, which is although same in terms of the area or maybe more in terms of the area, but it can be of no use for that particular thing for which we need a 6 by 6 size. So in order to cater for these kind of complications, we need to define a material as a variable item material, and that can also form part of the bill of material. So the detail that I discussed about the variable material were actually regarding the material master data of the variable material. Here what we are saying that for the bill of material, a variable material can also make part of the bill of material. Then we have some intra-item or phantom material, that is briefly and simply it's a sort of semi-finished goods. So a semi-finished good can also make part of the bill of material. So just not exactly, but just simply briefly for the sake of understanding, the wheel assembly in the for example this example, right, is itself a semi-finished goods. So we can assign a semi-finished goods as a bill of material item to a particular bill of material master data. And then we have class items. So the concept of I was on a break. The concept of configurable material needs to be learned first. Before that, we understand what do we mean by class item in the bill of material master data. The configuration material, configurable material, is something which is actually a feature in SAP, which is offered in order to reduce the number of material master data that have to be maintained. So for example, take this example of deluxe bike and professional bike. If I ask you how many material master data of the finished goods are required, the answer will be definitely 2, because there is one master data of the finished goods deluxe bike and there another master data of the finished goods professional bike with the color. For the first one is the red and the second one is the black. And we have 2 different items that are different in their respective bill of material. Now assume that we come up with 16 more colors in the bike, and the only difference is it's for the simplicity that the only difference is that of the frame, the color of the frame, right? So it means we need to have 15 different material master datas and 15 different bill of material master data. Now in order to reduce it, because the concept is that all the items in the material master data are supposed to be same. The material master data itself is supposed to be very, very similar. The BOM master data are also supposed to be same with the exception of only one item. So SAP says that you can, in such cases, you can just create one master data of the finished goods, for example, which will be known as a configurable material. By configurable material means that at runtime, at the time of production, you can configure it according to the requirement of the customers or your own requirements. So it's more relevant for the make to order industry. So for example, I create just one bike, right? And in that bike, for example, if the only difference is of the frame, then while creating the bill of material, I will not assign a specific frame black over here, but I will assign a frame generic frame name, for example. So colored frame. Now what the current frame is, the current frame will be known as the class item. Class item means that this bill of material item is not specifically an item in itself, but it's just what it is all about. It is actually a placeholder. It is actually representing a group of materials for configurable material. The bike is the configurable material in that case, listed in the class. So then I can maintain a class over here. So for example, this is the class which is named color frame. I can assign this class color frame over here as the material master data, within the material master as the component of the master data, and then over here I can say that okay, the class color frame can have either black frame or red frame or maybe violet frame or maybe many others. So the benefit of this kind of arrangement is that we need to maintain only now a very minimal number of finished goods master data, and also the number of bill of material master data is reduced. Now in this case we have to maintain 2 material master data and 2 bill of material master data. In this case we will create just 1 master data of the finished good and 1 master data for the bill of material, and in the bill of material no single frame will be there, but the frame will be referred to as class item, right, in which different classes will be there, and when we actually need to produce, we will decide which one of them is to be picked.